A Nascent Kaleidoscope. Chapter 151. There you both are. I've been looking everyone for you. Rin greeted us at the doorway. We were out training, Artorias said simply. Rin glanced it down, her eyes going to our hands intertwined. Is that what they say these days? Her lips curled up. Rin! Artoria huffed cutely, as she always does when Rin teases her. Yes, I said, shameless. Will! She shot at me as well. Me and Rin both shared a small laugh at our blushing night. It was all too easy to get her flustered, but always worth it. Artoria, you need to be more honest. Jin attacked Artoria from the back, wrapping her arms around the smaller girl. Just the other day you were asking me all about MMPHH. Artoria had quickly spun around and held her mouth shut. I raised an eyebrow. Curious. There is nothing to be curious about, she said sternly, but her reddening cheeks begged to differ. I'ma get the juicy details later, Rin said without room for argument. There is nothing to know. Artoria quickly denied. Let us call Meridia and cease this pointless banter. She quickly tried to change the subject. All right, let's stop teasing the poor knight. Well, if she didn't want to talk about it, I wouldn't push it any more. Meridia, want to come on over? I spoke out into the open air. Seemingly moments later, the door opened again, my beautiful goddess walking inside. I'm here. Yes, you are. I moved to hug her, haven't seen her in a few days. How have you been? I have been well, she said with a content sigh escaping her lips. Merely dealing with some annoying issues, as always. Are we ready to ascertain the contents of a scroll? God, yes. Rin threw up her arms. Been waiting forever. I have been very patient. Jin added, but I very much want to know what's inside. Her nature was clearly showing here. She had an almost impulsive desire to know things. It only required a thought for her to be hugging the large scroll again. Here you go, sister. She handed it over to Meridia. Thank you, Meridia replied, still a little taken back by the nonchalant attitude that Jin had. From what I could tell, she didn't hate it though, more so was still adjusting to the idea. So how does this go? Some kind of ritual or... Rin started to speak, but Meridia just yanked it open without any fanfare. A cascading golden light burst out, threatening to envelop everyone in the room. You will cease your tantrum lest I destroy you permanently, you arrogant little parchment. Meridia growled and it began to calm down. Well, that happened. I muttered. Humph, arrogant things are not used to being commanded, wistfully appearing and disappearing whenever they want to cross time and space. Meridia snorted. I have no idea how Hermias Mora can put up with these things. I can practically taste the disgust it has towards me because of what I am. Huh, a lot to unpack there, but thoughts for later. What's it say? Jin looked very eager. One moment, it technically does not contain any words. I need to peek at its existence. She stared at it, eyes glowing slightly. Huh, that is actually a bit interesting. She muttered. You're teasing me. Jin pouted. Maybe a little. Meridia smiled. It speaks of Oriel's bow, something I haven't heard about in many eons. Also with some nonsense about a lord of the night rising. That's it. Jin looked. Sad. More or less. Meridia pursed her lips, closing the thing. It did say more information was contained within 2 other scrolls, and that they should be somewhere here in Skyrim. Oh joy, I guess that's more tomb raiding we'll be doing. Rin sighed. Please, like you won't be the first to sign up to raid some tombs for riches. I rolled my eyes. Just because you're right, doesn't mean I can't be upset. Rin huffed. Artoria seemed to ignore us and faced Meridia. You spoke of a bow. Yes, Oriel, you may know him better as Akatosh. Meridia began to explain. His bow is a rather powerful artifact. I believe the term you use is divine construct. I called dibs. I said immediately. Bullshit, Rin retorted. Respect the ancient rights of dibs. Fuck your ancient rights. I want a divine construct you already have like a bajillion. You make a fair point. I acquiesced. Good. Rin nodded. But I have a counter-argument. I stated. I want it. Are you not leaving in a few days? Artoria chimed in. Yes. Saber's right, so we can get it while you're gone. Rin threw her hands up in celebration. Damn it, I forgot. I sighed in defeat. All right, what were you saying, Meridia? Meridia looked, amused by our little argument. As I was saying, it's Akatosh's, Orielza's bow. It has much history in the founding of Nirn and is extraordinarily powerful. She paused, looking towards Jin. I believe I may have some old records stored away in my realm somewhere. I can give you a better written account for your library. Kia, you're the best. Jin jumped at the eldritch goddess, grabbing her in a big hug. Why, yes. Meridia accepted the affections happily, even if it was awkwardly returned. Would you like to keep this? Of course, this is getting put in a special place in my library. Jin grabbed it quickly, hugging it tight. And you say there are 2 more in this provenance? According to the scroll, yes. Meridia replied. Interesting. Jin had a big grin on her face. I shall make room for more then. It was kind of funny. When talking about a divine weapon of untold power, Jin cared more about the scrolls, or the records and knowledge. Question. I grabbed everyone's attention. Would Akatosh be upset that we requisitioned his divine weapon? Who knows? Meridia shrugged. I have not spoken to him in a very long time, but he generally was not very uptight, for lack of a better word. If you abuse its power and damage Nirn, he may take action. Though, it's highly likely that he may already be aware of what will transpire, being the god of time. That's true, and we haven't had any divine intervention yet, so I can only guess we're either in the watch and wait category or otherwise ignored. I would say the former. You have garnered a not small amount of attention from higher powers. Meridia acknowledged. Shiagarath actually sent me a letter. She pursed her lips. A letter? Artoria asked. Well, I use the term letter very loosely. She sighed. What do you? It was a cheese wheel with words etched into it. She deadpanned. And a random bite taken out. I have several questions. Artoria spoke. There is a good chance you will only have more if we continue down this route. Meridia said dryly. Shiagarath's sphere of influence lay in madness. To decipher his mindset, I feel even I am woefully inadequate. What did the letter say? Rin asked. Was it about any of us? It was, unfortunately. Meridia confirmed with a light grumble in her voice. Though what specifically I do not know. Only that it had some of your names carved with some other undecipherable nonsense. I am waiting until he inevitably shows up to make a scene. Will you be okay? I asked hesitantly. Oh, he isn't very aggressive, normally. We have learned to ignore his madness when it is more benign. He will get tired eventually and move on to the next random thing that catches his attention. She waved off my concerns. So if we ever meet him, I asked, play along. Call me. Run away if possible. She said bluntly, if you are going to run into any of the other Daedric lords, he is perhaps one of the better ones, relatively speaking. Of course it was implied that we were not to seek them out ourselves, especially me. She made it very clear she did not want me associating with them willingly, and I would honor her feelings. I am curious. Have you good relations with any of the others? Artoria asked. Meridia looked contemplative. If you ever come across Azura or Nocturnal, I have a cordial relationship with them, I suppose. She pursed her lips. But even then, I do not advise you to seek them out, or spend time with them at all. I see. Artoria furrowed her brow. I had been taught by Merlin how to speak to divine spirits on the off chance I ever ran into one. I suppose it is not much different. Well, you can always threaten them with the spear of destiny. They can't manifest in the world fully. Should give them pause since part of Big G is inside the thing. I pointed out. Yes, that is one of the last resorts I have at my disposal. Would probably cause a lot of chaos among the higher powers if that was revealed so blatantly. I think seeing another world's god would definitely throw everyone off balance beyond what we've done already. You should know, the Elder Scrolls also possess power if used correctly. Meridia spoke up. Alduin only just now reappeared because he was flung from a previous era, through time, into this one by mortals utilizing an Elder Scroll. Wait, seriously? I looked at her. Yes, have you not wondered why his reemergence was so sudden? I hadn't thought much about it. I tapped my chin. Does that mean it could be used again? Unlikely. She shook her head. That scroll used was unique, as they all are. If you could possibly find the same one, but even then, he would be on guard against it. And I do not know if Akatosh would allow his domain to be infringed upon again, or if he would desire the prophecy to continue to be postponed. He. Jin started to giggle. My Elder Scroll. She hugged it. So cute. All yours. I kissed her forehead. I'll go get started on finding the others. Might have a few previous leads to look into. Jin excitedly said, quickly departing back to her library. All right, just give us a heads up if you find anything. I'm going to finish the kaleidophones. Rin responded, I'll have them done in a day or so. I am thankful for your assistance. Meridia looked like she was consciously trying to express her thanks. Don't worry about it. Just tell me if need anything else and I'll do my best. Rin gave a small smile, beginning to walk away. I see. Thank you again. Meridia said evenly. I too have things I must get back to, but maybe we can get together. I believe that it is normal for mortals in situations like this to eat meals at certain times. We can do dinner together. I'll whip up a few things for everyone. I happily accepted. I may not be the best cook, but I think I do all right. I will look forward to it. She walked up and placed a quick kiss on my lips. I will return, my lover. She turned to Artoria. Please keep him out of trouble in the meantime. She said with a small smile. I shall endeavor, but such a task may be beyond my capabilities. Artoria smirked. As I expected, but I felt the need to say it regardless. I'm right here. I pointed out. I am aware. Meridia said dryly, giving me a look as if daring me to deny her words. Before I depart, she turned back to Artoria. Would it be all right if... Meridia sort of held up her arms, but I could tell what she was implying. Artoria walked up and gave the goddess a hug. Of course. This was ridiculously sweet. Jin has been helpful in giving me advice on mortal interactions. Meridia explained as they separated. I am told this is a step in familiarity for relationships outside of lovers. Yes, it's something those close do. Artoria agreed. Meridia just nodded. I shall return later. See you soon. I smiled and waved as she walked out the door. So, I looked at Artoria. Market? Yes. She smiled brightly. Allow me to go change my clothing. I have something I wish to wear. Take your time. Artoria excitedly hurried up the stairs with an amusing pep in her step. I sat down on the couch and waiting for a few minutes, mentally reaching out towards Sir Wiggles, who was still in Whiterun. I had checked in every now and then, and from the link, I could tell he was having fun, and I more or less asked him if he wanted to leave. He didn't wish to, so I let him keep playing. I briefly wondered if it was time I should attempt to awaken his aura. I had an idea of what I was doing now, and I was confident I couldn't hurt him. Worst case, it rebounds on me, and I get the sole equivalent of being kicked in the balls from aura whiplash. If it all worked out, I could also awaken Thorum's and Rin's auras. I didn't know what would happen with Artoria, wasn't going to touch that until I had much more information. Wilhelm. I looked up, seeing Artoria walk down the stairs, my idle musings coming to an end. She was wearing a white dress, thought the materials and design looked like it came from this world. The general look of a normal woman you could find walking around Skyrim. But what caught my attention most was the fact that her hair was down as well. I found this while shopping previously. It reminded me of the fashion from my era. She awkwardly fiddled with her fingers. I had sometimes wondered about wearing such a thing when I was younger. I hope you don't mind. You look beautiful, I said sincerely, offering my arm. Would you do me the honor of accompanying me to the market? She gave a warm smile. I would be delighted to. She took my arm. If she didn't want to be simply Artoria Pendragon, not the King of Knights for this outing, then I would certainly not argue. Chapter 152. The guards waved to us as we entered the large gates to Whiterun. At this point, I think most of the guards of Whiterun could recognize me out of a crowd. I'm sure my hair color, while not being unique, was eye-catching enough, especially my state of dress. Where do you want to go first? I asked her as we entered the main road of the city. This was her idea. I would let her lead on this little date of ours. Jin required a variety of alchemy ingredients. There is a shop not far ahead that has everything she needs. Artoria replied, lightly tugging on my arm to lead me in that direction, her empty hand holding a basket. I have been here a few times in the past days, as I have ran errands. It's kind of you to do these things for everyone. I do not mind. She smiled. I enjoy this place, this city, and people are very friendly. I like this here too. I fell in love with it after coming here for the first time. I gave a wistful smile. If there weren't dragons running around, this place would be perfect. Yes, dragons. She pursed her lips. I do not care to think about them for the moment. I wish to enjoy our last bit of time together for a while. You're right. Let's not worry about any of that right now. It wasn't hard to guess. She wished to have a peaceful time together and not create any kind of stress or anxiety about what's going to be happening in the future. For this moment, we were just out shopping without any other responsibilities. Is this the place? We approached a building near the center of the market, a sign hanging above with a cauldron on it. Indeed, let us enter. She continued to lead up, pushing the door open, a bell greeting us as the person behind the counter perked up. Artoria, back already? The woman had a gentle smile on her face. I have returned, Arcadia. It is lovely to see you once again. Artoria greeted the woman quite familiarly. Did she make a friend while she was out and about? I was happy for her, even if it was just a passing acquaintance. Oh, and who's this? The woman gave me a once-over. The boyfriend you mentioned? This is Wilhelm, my boyfriend. Artoria nodded and introduced me. A pleasure, I said politely. You weren't lying. He is quite fetching, isn't he? She grinned, making Artoria look a bit bashful. What can I do for you, darling? I require another batch of the materials I purchased previously, Artoria stated, handing over a list. The older woman took it, pulling it up to her eyes. Let's see here. Frost salts just came in and are fresh. The briar heart is good for a few more days if you want it. Otherwise, the other stuff is more common and I have it all. She set the parchment down on the counter. The briar heart will be acceptable, Artoria confirmed. Please wrap everything up and I will pay in full. Right away, sweetheart. The woman went to her shelves and started grabbing various items and setting them all in a pile. The total should be 314 septims, she stated, wrapping everything up in parchment and putting it all neatly on the table. Thank you, Arcadia. Your services are impeccable as always. Artoria praised, setting the coins onto the table and taking the contents, putting them all in a little basket she was carrying in her empty hand. Come back soon. Arcadia waved us off, Artoria pulling at my arm again as we left the shop. You know her well? I asked. A passing familiarity. Artoria replied. I have been to her store several times now. I had thought it appropriate to become friendly with the owner. What else do we need? I looked around. Rin needs some stuff, right? Indeed. She asked me to get some medals. Artoria nodded. We continued walking through the market, people hawking their wares, and various stall owners trying to grab the attention of passerbys. Every so often we would stop at a corner or a stall, haggle with the owner or purchase an item, filling up Artoria's basket further. Oh, these look good, I commented, a stall full of produce. I'll take 2, please. I set a few coins down as I was handed a couple apples, giving one to Artoria. Thank you. She smiled. The apples here are always good, I said idly, taking a bite. Anything else you need? Maybe pick some stuff up for dinner tonight? I asked. This sounds like a wonderful idea. She smiled bright, eating her fruit. I shall procure some ingredients. Would you please take care of our voyeur? I paused for a moment. You noticed her too? Yes, I was content to ignore her, but the constant eyes on the back of my head are starting to become annoying. She let out a small huff. All right, I'll go see what she wants. Thank you, Wilhelm. Artoria stood up on her toss, placing a kiss on my cheek. Of course. I smiled at her, stepping back and moving towards an empty area. I let it up against the side of a building, appearing calm while I finished off my little snack. Are you going to come out or not? I call out lightly to my surroundings. I'm surprised you knew I was here. A feminine voice approached me, hood over her head, hugging the shade. Serana, I greeted curtly. I think it would be more surprised if I didn't notice you. And Artoria noticed you before me. She did not enjoy your constant spying. I turned to face her. You seem at ease walking around in the open. Did you take my advice, I wonder? I did meet the Jarl, she admitted. He did not appear thrilled to see me or accept my presence, but he was willing to listen to Thoram, who pleaded my case. Since then I've been free to come and go without being attacked. Well, He is a practical man. I doubt he would have thrown you out or killed you even if Thorum wasn't there, probably just tried to get something in recompense for letting you stay. I shrugged. She pursed her lips, crossing her arms. I see, she said simply, letting out a sigh. I should apologize for spying on you and Artoria. She looked a little sheepish, leading me to believe it wasn't malicious in nature. I just didn't know how to approach and was waiting for an opportunity, so it wouldn't be awkward. She revealed, You have my attention now, what do you want? I wish to know more of what occurred when my father died. I visited the castle myself to see what happened, but it was most rubble and nothing important remained. She explained, There wasn't really much to add. I wasn't really hiding anything important beyond Meridia's involvement. We fought. I killed him, and any of his people who still remained, then looted his castle. But now that I have you here, I do have a question myself. What are your intentions with Thorum? I hope you aren't just leading him on for your own benefit. I didn't wish to meddle too much, but I would alteast make sure she isn't just leading him on or something. She blinked at me, seemingly surprised by my blatant words. I don't know, she said, a small bit of hesitance in her voice. You don't know? I raised an eyebrow. She frowned. Do you have any idea what it's like to have your entire life flipped upside down? Everything you know to suddenly change? Then I meet Thorum, who was charming, kind, and welcoming to me when I was lost and unsure of what to do. But I'm a vampire? Yes, she said quietly. So what's the problem? What? She looked at me in confusion. What exactly is the problem? It sounds like you're just using the fact that you're a vampire as an excuse. No one's telling you to suddenly fall in love or even have any kind of relationship, but if you're holding yourself back because something stupid like that. Stupid? I'm a vampire, she hissed. I feed on people, drink their blood. How is that not a problem for someone like him? Have you seen how people around here treat him? He's a hero, and he willingly comes and spends time with someone like me who is reviled just because they exist. I looked straight at her, wings sprouting out of my back, giving her a raised eyebrow. I'm not exactly normal either. What? She looked surprised. I guess Thorum didn't exactly tell her. You aren't a monster, I stated. So what if you're a vampire? Hell, a lot of the companions aren't normal either. You know about that? Thorum said it was a secret. She muttered. Oh, so Thorum knows as well, that's interesting. I rubbed my chin. I never made a big deal about it because it doesn't matter. They aren't going around killing innocent people. Why the hell should it matter? It isn't that simple. She scowled. Meridia, the Daedric Lord, is my lover. I retorted, making her eyes widen. It's only as complicated as you're making it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I shrugged. If you don't want to return his feelings, then be upfront about it. Don't spout some bullshit about you being a vampire as a justification. I withdrew my wings and turned around to leave. Once again, it wasn't my place to meddle. She just needed a bit of a reality check. Whether something happens or not is none of my business. I let out a sigh, moving back towards the market area. Since when did I become the authority on relationships? I walked back up to Artoria as she inspected another stall of goods. Did you take care of it? She didn't look up. I did. She was just a little hesitant to come speak. I replied, Nothing to worry about. We can just continue our date. I took her hand into mine. She smiled brightly at me, the kind that could make my heart beat quicker. Yes, I have some more places I wish to visit. Lead the way. I chuckled. I didn't mind spending one of my last couple days here like this. I was going to be away for a while and I wanted Artoria to be happy when I left. Nothing big had happened yet, so I didn't feel stressed about leaving right now. I felt like there were still a lot of things to do in this world, but I wasn't pressed in any true way at the moment. Everything will come to a head eventually, and I'll be here when that happens. Talos POV. I watched upon the mortal realm, the various races toiling about their daily lives. It was a small joy in my immortal existence, a remembrance from when I too walked upon that land and lived among their number. Tiber Septim, Ismir, Talos, Dragonborn, and many more. They were all names, all identities I could claim, and they still were spoken upon the winds of Nirn even to this day. But for this particular era, there were only a few that took prominence as the world tilted on the axis of oblivion. An old prophecy which cast two sides against each other, the World Eater and the last Dragonborn. I had watched my brother, bearer of a small fragment of Akatosh/Oriel/Father's soul. Compared to their other brethren, it was but a small candlelight swaying in the wind. I could see all of my siblings as I watched from upon mine throne, but my youngest brother was perhaps my favorite to view. An intrinsic connection I could access due to our shared origin. Memories of when I was mortal. They did not have much bearing on my current existence, mine divine person, but that small tinge that remained still brought a certain fondness when I allowed myself the brief moments to submit to the nostalgia. Thorum, that was the name of the youngest. It was a good, Nordic name, my Ysmir parts seemingly nodding in approval. From the moment he was a babe, I cast my gaze towards him, his entire life but a mere flicker in my eyes. The briefest of moments I could allow myself the amusement of watching him grow, but for him it was the passing of many seasons. The little rascal, I admit there were a few moments I chuckled at his antics. A little dragon he certainly was, even as a little milk drinker, as the Nords say. His life was not a happy one for much longer, his village having a run-in with a band of brigands and killers. He was among only a few survivors. There were many ups and downs in his life, even having been a thief for a time. Yet, he somehow grew up to be an admirable man, someone I would welcome into Sovngarde when the time came. He had quite a few adventures here and there, finding friends and comrades, losing some and parting ways with others, yet he carried on with a smile on his face. Things were relatively calm, even when Alduin re-emerged. At the incorrect point, Thorum did not garner any more of my attention than I was already giving him. Not until the outsider appeared. Even at their first meeting, the strange person was a passing curiosity that I deemed unimportant. He was amusing, something I could attribute to many mortals, but nothing beyond that. Well, I will admit I had a small bit of goodwill towards him after hearing he had embarrassed one of those Thalmor who denounced my existence. No, he didn't make his existence truly known until Mermulner descended upon the mortal city for the first time after Alduin returned to the normal flow of time. Just as Alduin was different than the others, I too was different than Father's pieces, yet I could know another dragon's name just at a glance, even without my divine might. Mermulner was one of the smallest pieces cast off by Father, one of the weakest. It would have been a good opponent for the youngest, perhaps the closest dragon in strength to him. A coincidence of events that led the weakest dragon to be the first to face off against Thorum is what I would say if I did not have true knowledge of the world's workings. The threads of fate that intertwined the youngest and the other pieces of Father. Events would unravel in a way to give the youngest a fighting chance against the eldest. What should have been a battle that forced the youngest to grip victory by the jaws and relish upon his first triumph over another dragon was instead interrupted by the outsider. Wydrea Gotch, the name shouted by the dragon, hidden in that strange red gauntlet. The Red Dragon Emperor he called himself, yet the image of him as he projected himself to anyone with the correct sense couldn't deny the visage. There was but one problem. No dragon by that name existed upon Nirn, nor the realms beyond. Mermulner was right to call it an abomination. It held none of Father's essence, no piece of the god's soul. Yet it could not be denied that the creature was a dragon, and a strong one at that. This strange person, this outsider. Not even Father knew from where he came, the strange creature in the skin of a man. His equally strange magics that seemed utterly foreign to any who beheld them as well. If that was not enough, Meridia was keeping a proactive gaze on him. Not the most vile of her brethren, but a Daedric lord she still remains. How amusing it was to hear that Meridia and the outside had become lovers. Beyond the bewilderment at the reveal, I cared not for the Daedric lord, did not seem to reach for the youngest. But it further emphasized the mystery behind the one called Wilhelm. The outsider returned after a small period again, when the youngest was face to face with more of his kin. At this point, Thorum was on his way to becoming a true dragon amongst Father's pieces, perhaps only equaled by a select few still flying in the world. Besides the oldest, of course, Thorum was still no match for the World Eater. The outside returned, and with him, strange new things also appeared. Weapons I had no knowledge on, yet held the touch of divine, powers that he could not find the origin of. I had sensed it during the battle. when part of Father's soul that resided in the dragon, known as Gevadak, had been utterly destroyed. Luckily, the rum was able to absorb it before the outsider did any more damage. Since that time, I had subtly steered any more of Father's children away from the outsider. Even Father had been concerned about the implications behind his pieces being destroyed and not returning eventually. It had set a strange precedent to actively usher dragons, through unconscious means, away from the last dragonborn that should have been hunting them as the outsider was waiting nearby. The uncountable number of threads that held fate together began to unravel around this strange creature. Things that should have happened never came to pass. Others were forcibly overtaken, usurped, and by some luck, others were completed by their intended recipient. Thoram meeting the spawn of Molagbal, yet not acquiring the Elder Scroll for himself. Hidden away in that strange building he calls a house, full of things not known to this world. The threads just continued to pull apart when the outsider's companions appeared. Another dragon unknown to these lands, unknown to the creator and father of dragons. That wasn't all. A golden light that shined within that smaller dragon soul. Beautiful was a word that failed to appropriately describe it. The strange person/spirit that walked the world in a way that was similar to the souls of Sovngarde, yet utterly different. The other spirit, the one the outsider called Jinn. It was something touched by divine hands, yet we could not recognize its origin among our fellows. Was it possible the others had found a way to enter Nirn without our notice? No, such a thing wasn't possible under our notice, and it was unlikely they would willingly return to these lands. The outsider just continues to be an anomaly, one that had garnered the attention of others who know the threads of fate. Taken the Eye of Magnus, as the mortals have called it, and repurposed it into a sword of great power. The Staff of Magnus also falling into his hands, and there are his other artifacts of unknown origin. That sword Thoram was given, Anti-Dragon the outsider called it, and I would believe his claims. It had a palpable dislike for my kin, enough that I could feel it through the link, not that it was anywhere strong enough to reach me. So many questions and too few answers. I continue to watch the youngest, and I hope that this iteration of world does not end. I have grown to quite like it. Chapter 153. Hey! I squeezed Meridia's thigh, my head resting in her lap under a tree. Must you always molest my legs? She puffed up, looking down at me. What? Yes, I said without any shame. But I got a question. Speak. I shall answer to the best of my ability. You're a Daedric lord, also known as a Daedric prince, right? I asked. That is the common terminology for me, and those like me, yes. She stated. If you're a prince, does that make me your princess? I grinned at her, while she just looked at me in surprise. Yup, you're definitely a princess, Schweinord. Rin answered for her, sitting by Artoria and across from Jin as they both ate. You sure act like one, at least. You're just jealous. I pursed my lips, looking up at the sun high in the air. It was a lovely day, a perfect and peaceful time before I finally head out. Rin snorted. Yeah, right. Besides, isn't Saber a king? Doesn't that make you her concubine? Does it? I turned to look at Artoria sitting peaceful and eating with a grace that shouldn't be possible with how quickly everything was being cleared. It does. Artoria smiled innocently. Well, I can add royal concubine to my titles then. I held my finger up, discharging a bolt of lightning into the air. Immediately, another bolt streaked across the sky, intercepting and devouring it. Sir Wiggles plopped to the ground, twitching his nose happily with lightning crackling around its body. Can't believe you awoke its aura. Rin sighed, staring at the magnificent bunny. Sir Wiggles has ascended. I held out my hands, my familiar happily jumping into them. Soon, he shall be unrivaled across all creation. Meridia just looked at me oddly and reached out to stroke the rabbit. He can already use this semblance. Why can you not? No idea. Maybe Sir Wiggles is just purer than me in a sense. A semblance is an expression of one's self brought about by their soul manifesting in the physical world. Sir Wiggles doesn't question who he is, his purpose in life. There are no whys for him, he simple lives. So he can manipulate lightning like you because he's simple? Rin asked as Sir Wiggles flashed out of my hands and hopped over into Artoria's waiting arms. More or less. I shrugged. It's not exact science here. Every book I read about the subject was so vague and nondescript on how it worked. And he isn't manipulating lightning, he's absorbing and storing it, then kind of releases it for whatever he wants. Do you know his storage capacity? Semblances usually. Jin paused, looking at me with an annoyed expression. Have a limit to stop their users from hurting themselves accidentally? I offered. That's good enough. Jin nodded, clearly still annoyed about her limitations. Should be only for direct use. I continued. Like Pyrrha could easily use her polarity to smack herself with something, whereas I doubt Cobalt could have drowned himself by activating his water clones inside his lungs or something. That's a good enough explanation as any. Jin too was enjoying the meal. Seeing her perk up every time she tried something new, it was cute. Is there a limit on these semblances? Meridia spoke up. They sound similar to magic, and that particular skill set can be taken far. I would guess the semblance is limited by the person. The soul and body are usually linked. One can't become too much bigger without the other compensating, otherwise death would be a factor. Maybe it's an evolutionary trait, but the people of Remnant generally have their bodies and souls grow in tandem in an almost 1-to-1 ratio. I waved my hand flippantly. Or that was my observation so far, but I'm lacking in any significant evidence. I want to say so many things. Jin grumbled, stuffing a pastry into her mouth. MMMHHGPHGH. Well, I didn't need to know what she said to understand she was still upset about her limitations. Well, how about getting your aura unlocked, Rin? Do you even need to ask? She deadpanned. Give me that power boost. How does this work exactly? Artoria paused in her meticulous eating to ask. We touch souls. The concepts of aura basically get copied onto hers, and I can then pull hers out, metaphysically speaking. That was a very crude explanation, but it wasn't wrong. Jin confirmed. I assume you have created a chant? A chant like a spell? Rin questioned. Sort of an in-between of an actual spell chant and an aria. It doesn't have much power in itself, but it resonates with the person's soul on a conceptual level to actualize everything. There's a reason that aura and semblances are heavily influenced by personal traits. So it's something personal and unique to each person? Jin gave the SOSO gesture. It has a little bit of structure to it. So it does have rules. Probably just stems from the first user, kind of like a trait passed down. I shrugged. Or maybe it's all bullshit. I honestly have no idea. Several eyes landed on Jin. I can answer no more questions this century. She deadpanned. If it bothers you, I can attempt to meddle with you, artifact. Perhaps I can loosen the restrictions. Meridia offered, blinking after a moment. Where is your lamp? I had to store it away. I will need some time to fetch it. Jin had an obvious blush on her face, and I couldn't help but grin remembering where exactly it was at the moment. I'm curious, but my instincts are telling me I don't want to know the answer. Rin stated, choosing to ignore the obvious flustering Jin had going on. Is it in a place that is hard to access? Meridia didn't seem to understand. I suppose it is wise to make sure it is tucked away somewhere and hard to retrieve in the even that it is discovered and someone wishes to use it against you. I'm sure Jin wouldn't mind showing you where it is later. I smirked at my genie, her face a beautiful red. The way she shifted on the bench, I really don't think she would mind. All right, Schweinorg, how you want to do this? Rin stood up, walking towards me. Just come and sit cross-legged in front. I gestured, sitting up. I am curious about this as well. Meridia also adjusted herself to better look. All right, Rin replied, taking up her spot. I think I'm ready. Now you're going to feel a bit awkward as I enter deep inside you. Don't worry, that's completely natural. I'm already regretting this. Rin sighed. Honestly, it's almost tradition to make it into a lewd joke. Jin snorted. Just get it over with. I want to have a soul shield. Fine. I put my hand on her back and flared my aura. For it is in. It's red. Meridia admired, poking Rin's aura. That feels weird. Rin muttered. Don't mind me, just a little exhausted over here. I waved my hand, laying on the grass. Artoria had stopped her snacking and was also inspecting it. I believe it changes colors based on the person. Artoria also starting poking. The structure is very firm, very much like Wilhelm's. I feel energized. Rin looked at her hands, clenching them as the red energy flowed around her body. Definitely feel stronger. Yeah, you had above average reserves. Not as big as mine, but still pretty good. I explained. Above average? Like how much above average? Rin looked at me. Jen. I called out. The genie threw a thumbs up. About that much. I said. That makes it much clearer, thanks. She said dryly. Can't wait to go fight that bitch again. Rin, are you thinking of using your new powers to bully your rival? I gasped. Yup. Well, if I wanted confirmation that you're one of the old mans. I chuckled. Make sure to extort her as much as possible. Rin scoffed. Of course, who do you think I am? Artoria let out a sigh. I don't know who's being a bad influence on whom. The answer is yes. I replied, yoinking Artoria down towards me with some telekinesis. Will! Artoria let out an indignant squeak, falling into my arms as they wrapped around her. I invoke my authority as the royal concubine. Mine. Now, as is tradition, you must fight another aura user in a duel to the death. I pointed towards Sir Wiggles. Begin. Artoria bonked me on the head. Don't initiate death duels between your familiar and Rin. Too late. Sir Wiggles, attack. I called out. With a burst of lightning, Sir Wiggles plopped himself on Rin's head. The static is messing up my hair. Rin groaned. Meridia was kind enough to grab Sir Wiggles, who happily stay in her arms. Who's a good boy? She cooed to my familiar. It seemed like everyone was quite taken with him. Sir Wiggles is the best wingman. I chuckled. I'm going to start teaching him magic soon. Dare I ask why? Artoria looked at me strangely. Because I would find it hilarious. You really are the old man's reincarnation. Rin sighed again. That's still really strange to say out loud. Is it? Jin walked up poking Rin's aura. And there are many different meditation techniques for manipulating aura, of which I have some books in the library. What? Is reincarnating normal for you? Rin raised an eyebrow towards Jin. And thank you. I'll be sure to read them later. Jin let out a long-winded sigh. I can answer no more questions this century. Wait, seriously? Rin looked surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Remnant's a strange place. I should visit Salem soon. They have robots, Rin, robots. We don't even have robots. You're such a nerd. What's a robot? Meridia asked. An advanced form of an automaton. I gave a rough explanation. I'll show you one if I ever get my hands on any. Through legal means, correct? Artoria narrowed her eyes. Correct. Yes. I will accept that answer for now. Does she know I'm a wanted criminal on Remnant? Jin never got to that part, and it was kind of glossed over. Is it time we speak of the elephant in the room? Meridia gently scratched Sir Wiggles' head. I let out a sigh. Probably, this was coming either way. I pat Artoria on the head. She takes the K to sit up as I followed suite. Well, it's not really a secret at this point, but I was going to head out in a little bit. No shit, we've been prepping like crazy these past couple weeks. Rin huffed. Takin got a small satchel from her storage bag. I had some extra jewels, so I put some spells in them. You can figure it out. She tossed them to me. Thanks, Rin. I smiled towards her. Whatever. She crossed her arms and looked away. Oh, I also have some stuff. Jin pulled on the house's magic and handed over a bag. Lots of talismans, lots of dust bombs. I'm excited to see how they do. You better bring back some notes. Of course. I chuckled. I too have something I wish to give you, Wilhelm. Meridia walked up, setting Sir Wiggles on the ground. It took me some time to track down. She flipped her hand over, revealing a ring. It is one of my lesser-known relics. It had disappeared some time ago, and I didn't care enough then to retrieve it. It's pretty. I admired the yellow gem inlaid on the silver ring. It's simply called the Ring of Acaciate. She explained. It has properties to enhance your speed and stealth capabilities. Next time, I'll be the one to give you a ring. I grinned. I do not have an overt fascination with jewelry. She said plainly, in our cultures, presenting someone with a ring is an indication of wanting to get married. Jin replied, Am married? Meridia squeaked out, her face turning a light shade of pink. You. She appeared to be speechless, opting to huff and puff. I wish to also give you something. Artoria spoke, pressing a hand to her chest, a bright light engulfing the area as her sheath appeared. She held it tightly in her hands before pushing it to me. I didn't have time to protest as it went inside me. It contains my magical energy. It should be enough to activate once without my presence. Artoria, I can't, this is... No. She cut me off. You will carry it and return it to me when you come back, she said sternly. And this will accompany you as well. She took out the true Longinus from her bag and set it down in front of me. I feel like I won't be able to argue with you on this. Good, you are learning. She nodded. I shook my head with a sigh, taking the spear back into my ring. What are your plans? Jin asked. Are you heading out immediately, or? I was going to stop by Thorum, say goodbye, maybe awaken his aura on the way out. I also wanted to visit Kunu before I head back home and talk to the old man. Good, both Yasaka and Kunu deserve your attention. Artoria nodded in approval. Oh, that reminds me. Rin took a few more things out of her bag. Finished the kaleidophones, got 7 in total. She started handing them out, giving the leftovers to me. Thank you. Meridia held the device in her hands, but didn't seem like she knew how to use it. Ah, thanks, Rin. Jin wrapped up the shorter magus. And don't worry, I'll show you how to use it, later, Meridia. It was no problem. Rin pat the genie on the shoulder with a small smile. I stood up, brushing myself off. I should probably start heading out. Ah, here come your mushy goodbyes. She flipped her hair back. Later, Schweinorg, don't die or I'll go kick your ass. Rin waved her hand, walking towards the house. Rin, you're such a tsundere. Well, who's first? Meridia stepped forward. I expect you to return, whole and healthy. She poked my chest. And I mean it this time. I will be very upset if you are harmed. I held out my hands, letting her move into my arms. No getting hurt. Jin joined in with a smile, moving her mouth towards my ear to whisper something. If you come back without any issues, I'll let you hide something else where my lamp is. What a lewd genie you are, though I suppose that's what happens when you see the entirety of the internet. Artoria walked up, and I pulled her in as well with my free hand. I look forward to meeting Scat Hack, she said evenly. Yes, new sister. Jin cheered. I can't wait to meet her. MMM, as they say. Meridia nodded. But your safety takes priority. Of course. I couldn't help but smile at their sincerity. I kissed each of them goodbye. I'll be back soon. Please return, Artoria said quietly. I briefly thought about anything else I would need to do. There were no pressing matters. Meridia would look over everyone. I had reinforced the house through every means I had available, even adding primordial runes. Inther had come through, and for a small fortune, I had armed this place to stand up to a veritable siege. I'll be back, just wait. I pulled out Mirage, giving them one last look before opening a portal to Whiterun. Will Thorum shouted in shock, practically falling down. Yo! I greeted, appearing right in the middle of the training area. I looked around and saw several faces from the companions I was familiar with, and even Serana was hovering nearby in the shade. Is something wrong, my friend? Thorum regained his composure. You don't usually pop in like this, unless there is a problem. No problem, but I'm going to disappear for a little bit. Going to get Scat Hack. I replied. There wasn't a need to cause him undue stress by explaining further. Oh, you are here to say goodbye then? Thorum looked, not upset, but somewhere close to it. How long will you be gone? Not that long. And if there is an emergency, any of the girls can get a hold of me and I'll come back right away. Oh, that is good. Thorum accepted. Before I leave, I wanted to give you something. I did it for Rin, and I felt comfortable doing it for someone else. What is it? Well, I'm going to awaken your aura. I flared my own for added effect. It's the physical manifestation of the soul. It provides an overall boost in physical capabilities, a shield that can mitigate quite a bit of damage, and over time you can develop a singular power that's based on your personality. Truly, that sounds too good to be true. Are there any downsides? Not really. I scratched my head. I don't think it can even be done hurtfully. At worst, I get a rebound, but that's about it. Honestly, the only downside is how intimate the act is. I'm basically touching your soul with mine. Okay, I trust you, Thorum said without a second thought. I just said I'm touching your soul. Do you really have no reservations? Thorum just laughed. If you wish to harm me, there were simpler ways. Idiot! I sighed. All right, sit down, legs crossed. He followed my instructions and sat down, and I followed suit. The onlookers didn't seem keen on interrupting us, but a quick glance around revealed how interested they were in what was happening. Well, I didn't really hide it, and if Thorum eventually wants to awaken others' auras, more power to him. Steady yourself. I'm going to push my aura into you, I stated, flaring my aura up. Oh, that is strange. Yeah, everyone says that the first time. I laughed. Now, for it is through freedom that we achieve immortality. Through this we become a paragon of liberation and choice to rise above fate. Infinite in possibilities and unbound by death, I release your soul and by my shoulder free thee. As soon as I finished the words, Thorum exploded in a golden light. My own aura reserves dipped exponentially, enough that I felt a shock in my chest. Idiot, he's a dragon, and he ate other dragon souls. I thought I could handle it. I mean, I did. It just felt like I got kicked in the balls. I feel amazing. Thorum stood up, light enveloping him. Is this the aura you spoke of? It covers my body. What the hell is that? My eyes widened. He was supposed to have a sort of bubble around him with fully manifested, but Thorum's aura took on the form of a dragon as it covered his body. There was even an ethereal tail behind him. What the fuck? Chapter 124. This is amazing. Thorum looked at himself, his arms glowing bright, ethereal scales covering his body and his ghost-like tail swaying around. I feel significantly stronger. I believe I have made an oopsie. I pursed my lips, inspecting it. Is something wrong? Sarana approached, looking a little concerned. Thorum is a dragon, I said plainly. His soul is indistinguishable from one, even if his body is that of a man. I brought the physical manifestation of his soul out, so it obviously would be different than me own. I rubbed the bridge of my nose. I feel stupid for not even considering this. It's obvious in hindsight. Is this bad? Thorum asked. No, not at all. Your aura can't be bad. It's simply your own soul being more proactive. Though I don't know what exactly is going on, but if you like it, then that's good enough. I shrugged. Aura was perhaps the safest mystical phenomenon I had ever encountered, as there were literally no detriments here. Back in Remnant, Grimm were much more attracted to those with aura awakened, and I guess an argument could be made that having your soul fluttering about could be potentially hazardous under the right circumstances. But in general, there was no overt danger to the person who had their aura awakened. I quickly withdrew a notebook and pen from my ring and began jotting down notes. Some quick thoughts, some things to be mindful of, and some other miscellaneous stuff. Here! I ripped the pages out and handed them over to Thorum. I would advise seeing Jin in the next few days. Give her that. She's more of an expert on aura than I am, so she should be able to make sure everything is working correctly. I trust you, my friend. He put the note away in a pocket. But I shall speak with Jin at a later date, even if it is merely to speak with a friend. He gave that big goofy smile. Well, I'm entirely sure there is actually nothing wrong, just merely something that should probably be sorted out by an expert. Get over here, you big idiot. I surprised him with a hug, usually him being the one to do so. He let out a mirthful chuckle, patting me on the back. I await more stories for when you return, and I hope to meet your woman as well. Of course. I nodded, turning towards Sarana. Take care of him while I'm gone. I'll take good care of him. She smirked. I'm sure you will. Don't know how long I'll be gone. Remember, if anything happens, shout for you-know-who, or get in contact with the girls. I will remember your words. Until you return, my friend. He held his hand as I grasped it in mine. Later. I smiled as we parted, sweeping Mirage into the air again and departing the world line. I looked up at the fake sky of Kyoto, this small dimension created to house a large portion of Japan's Yukai population. Well, I appeared nearby Yasaka's estate. Walking up the path towards a large gate, I took a moment to admire the view all around me. It was nice and peaceful. It didn't really carry the air of a subspace sectioned off from the world. It felt alive. The gate was the same as I recalled. Guards were still wary from the previous battles that took place here. I could feel the eyes on me as I made my intentions to approach obvious. I was ready to explain myself, be polite, and not just barge inside, but... Young lord. Several Tengu flew down, greeting me respectfully. Pardon. I blinked in surprise. Young lord, we welcome you back. They spoke. Okay. That's new. Can I enter? I hesitantly asked. Of course, young lord. They immediately stood up, shouting all around as the gates flung open with a surprising haste. Young lord, may I ask what you need? Do you need to be escorted anywhere? The reconstruction has just been completed recently. There was much remodeling. I dare not allow you to get lost. The Tengu at the front, who I assumed was the highest rank, was speaking quickly. I scratched my head. I wasn't used to this kind of attention. Even as my time as Zelretch, there was a healthy dose of fear behind the reverence. Is Yusaka available? Of course, young lord. The Tengu bowed lightly. I can lead you to Lady Yusaka immediately. I let out a sigh. Sure, take me to her, please. I gestured him forward. This way. He gestured to the guard, who assumed their positions back at the gate, taking direction and leading me through the compound. I wanted to ask him a couple questions, but... I apologize. I don't believe I know your name. This one is Soma, young lord. He replied without a hint of awkwardness. I am the third commander of the Blue Sparrows, a recent promotion, as I had ascended levels a few days prior. He said with no small amount of pride in his voice. There was a little blue bird on his uniform. Some kind of designation for his platoon, or whatever it's called. Ascended? I questioned. I think I may be misunderstanding the vernacular. Oh yes, you are a half-devil. He nodded. It's common these days to use their measuring system. I believe you would be more familiar if I recently became the equivalent of a high-class recent. Oh, I see. Thank you for the explanation. I nodded. It is my duty to see to your needs, young lord. He seemed a little less stiff as our conversation progressed. Well, I admit I'm not as familiar with Yukai customs and social norms. I have a few questions if you wouldn't mind. I would be honored to help you in any way. If you don't mind me asking, I thought devils weren't particularly liked over here. I thought I would be receiving a lesser reception if I just appeared like this. I apologize for any negative receptions due to your heritage, young lord. The Tengu looked down. But any warrior who fought in that bloody battle wouldn't dare insult you for your devil bloodline. He turned around and slammed his hand on his chest. We are grateful for the assistance you lent in dealing with the terrorists. Lady Yusaka had revealed the extent of help that we received after everything had been settled. That makes more sense. I muttered. I guess she felt comfortable enough to announce a true conclusion to the events. Well, it was neither my place nor my desire to meddle with any of these affairs. Thank you, Soma. I have but one last question for the moment. Yes, young lord. Why am I being referred to as young lord? I don't understand. What else would we call you? He looked confused. It is common knowledge that the princess calls you father. Any other title would be an insult. Well, okay then. It was hard to argue with that logic when put in perspective. Young lord, Lady Yusaka awaits you inside. He bowed, gesturing to a door. She has already been informed of your arrival. Oh, I didn't realize how far we had actually walked. Thank you, Soma. Your assistance has been most helpful. I am here to serve, young lord. He gave one last bow and disappeared, a few feathers fluttering about in his wake. Impressive speed. I had to make an effort to keep an eye on him if I wanted to see where he went. It was enough to escape my perception if I was being lackadaisical. Pushing the door open, I was greeted with a scene that truly made my heart thump. Wilhelm. Yusaka greeted me, sitting at a small table, tea in front of her and a spot across open for me. I took my shoes off and walked over, taking a seat. Yusaka. I couldn't help but smile towards her. You look lovely. She clearly did something with her hair, and her makeup was quite well done. Not to mention it looked like she was dressing up. What's the occasion? Occasion? She tilted her head. You're here. Isn't that occasion enough? She gave a small smile. And now my heart won't sit still. Wow, she really knows how to go for the killing blows, doesn't she? Shush. So you're telling me you did everything in the few minutes it took me to walk over here? I raised an eyebrow. Oh ho, I am quite skilled at what I do. She let out a small giggle. Would it be insincere if compliment you again? I would welcome it wholeheartedly. You look beautiful. I said with all honesty. Your words do make the effort worth it. She preened under the praise. Did you come back just to compliment me? I wouldn't be against it if you did so more often. Well, I did just come to visit. I lightly chuckled. Admittedly, I missed Kunu and you. The fingers around her teacup tightened slightly as she processed my words, though her expression didn't change. You're going to make an old woman like me blush. She quickly donned a mischievous smirk, perhaps something she's used to wearing. Well, this young lord is willing to take responsibility for his words. I raised an eyebrow. She let out a barely concealed snort before breaking out into a giggling fit. Would you believe me if I said I didn't start that? Nope. I deadpanned. It's true. She whined. Don't get me wrong. I would have done it without a second thought had the idea crossed my mind. Seriously. I was surprised by her admittance, and I could believe her here. She would totally take credit if she had done it. Who did it then? Our little Kunu has a little devious side to her. Yasaka smirked. That little, cute fox. I face-palmed, running my hand down my face. Well, she takes after her mother. Yes, she does, Yasaka said with no small amount of pride in her voice. Yeah, Kitsune are a really mischievous bunch. I'm assuming she isn't here at the moment. She's in school, Yasaka revealed. I enrolled her in the school that most of the noble clans and wealthy families in this small world send their children to. A recent development. Jin did help Kunu with her homework last time we were over. I took a sip of my tea. Oh, this is good. I perked up at the taste. Isn't it? One of our own special brands. Yasaka gently fingered the rim of her cup. And yes, Kunu hasn't been going there long. I enrolled her not long after the attack. Oh, that's a surprise. You're not going to admonish me? Her eyes met my own, as if expecting something. Do you think I would? Kunu is at the age where she needs social interaction to get friends of her own. The attack was tragic in many ways, but it would be detrimental to hold her back because of it. Not to mention you're much more experienced with raising her, being a parent. Yasaka let out a sigh. Maybe I'm just projecting my own worries and insecurities. She shook her head. I still can't help it. It's her first time going to a real school. She had been tutored with private lessons until this point. And it's hard to let her go. Extremely. She let out a sad chuckle. The constant worry about another attack doesn't help either. I know it isn't likely, but it's hard to break old habits. I nodded. Yes, that's exactly right. Ever since her father passed, I haven't been the most liberal parent. She let out another long-winded sigh. She also retreated into herself, even if she was very young back then. I don't think she ever fully came back out of her shell, and I never gave her the opportunity to. She looked back up at me. Then you come along, and suddenly she has a new daddy that brightens her smile. Yasaka had that small smirk on her face. She brightened up my world, too. I looked down at my tea. When she first said it to me, I don't understand why, but I got immediately attached. No regrets since either. I said it before, but I'm glad that it was you who took that spot in her heart. Yasaka gave a warm smile. But enough of this dreary talk. She changed the subject quite easily. I wish to know how you've been doing. I've been good, learned a few new things. Took Rin and Artoria to a place so they could stretch their legs a bit. Rin was able to get some practical experience, and that's done wonders for her. I was willing to switch gears. Jen's been taking care of my house, sorting my library among other things. Oh, Jin's at your home? Would it be inappropriate if I asked to visit? Of course not. I quickly denied such thoughts. Jin would love if you came by. I can't guarantee anyone would be there when you do, because of some magic shenanigans, but you're always welcome in my home. Kunu absolutely adores her Auntie Jin, Yasaka giggled, cupping her own cheek. And I would like to get to know her better. She seemed like quite the interesting person. Yeah, Jin's great. I think she was taken with Kunu just as much. The picture of Jin and Kunu together still brought a smile to my face. Jin seems to latch onto the idea of family just as much as I do. She pursed her lips. You never did tell me how you two met. And you seemed really different the last time I saw you, and even now there's something different again. She got up, walking over to me. Her nose twitched as she visibly began to sniff me. You smell good like nature, really pure nature. Was it because of the dust Jin wove into this outfit for me? Dust was crystallized magical energy with an emphasis on the elements. Jin made me some special clothes with the elements intertwined in them. She got much closer, nose practically touching mine. There's something more prominent though, lightning? I think I smell some lightning on you, and it's heavy, much heavier than the other scents. Who knows? I grinned. Keep your secrets. I'll get them eventually, she giggled, but for now we should get going? Get going where? I was surprised at her sudden shift in demeanor. To pick up our daughter from school, of course. She stood up again, holding out her hand. I'm sure Kunu would be ecstatic to have both her mom and dad pick her up. I took it, rising to my feet. Yeah, let's go get our daughter. I don't know what was in store for me when I entered the Grail War, but I didn't care for now. I just wanted to see my daughter. Chapter 155. Yasaka POV. When was the last time I felt this relaxed? One would think the aftermath of the attack would see things calming down, but it just made every annoying entity want to crawl out of their holes and cause trouble for me. How many times did I have to stop some kind of power play for my position? And poorly executed ones at that. I feel more insulted by the attempts than the fact they were done in the first place. Of course, it was mainly the younger ones, who hadn't seen much of the world yet. There was a reason why the previous attack, having been orchestrated by one of the elders, was such a shocking revelation. Simply put, they knew my position was inviolable. Did they think I was like that old geezer on the other side of the fence who ruled with a strong fist? Well, I do, but it isn't the reason I'm the ruler like him. My position isn't one that someone can simply acquire. The elders know this, which is why I've never had to worry about them. Sure, there are power plays, everyone trying to eke out any kind of influence or further their clan's positions. This is expected, and welcome for the most part, as long as it doesn't cross certain lines. A complacent retinue causes a whole different set of problems. But my position is backed by Amaterasu herself. The ley lines I watch over, that I control, are powerful enough that the leader of the Shinto pantheon had taken an active role in their management. Well, active is relative here. She makes sure she places someone to manage them that won't cause issues for Japan. It was the reason those stupid children tried to attack in the first place. To have me utilize the ley lines so they could power a dragon gate to summon Great Red onto Earth. If I had any hesitance about what I did, then that removed any possible sympathy remaining. Stupid children seemed to think they could take him and prove they were heroes. They couldn't even take me, and I wasn't ashamed to say I was much weaker than the Dragon of Dreams. Forget about Japan. We would be lucky if the planet was still habitable after the dragon relented in his rage. And there's still more issues I'm dealing with because of them. The Abrahamic factions are breathing down my neck. Azazel wants to get his hands on some of the sacred gears we acquired. Heaven wants to retrieve the true Longinus. And the devils have been making some not-so-subtle inquiries about Wilhelm, and also wanting to get some of the sacred gears we now have. Lady Izanami even told me there had been some divine eyes cast our way due to the fight. But I hadn't gotten any more out of her, mostly because she's been gone for a while now. Meeting with some other deities or something. She didn't specify, and I didn't wish to meddle in her business. She only said she would be gone for a little bit, but beings on her level don't perceive time the same way we do. But that doesn't matter anymore. I tossed aside any responsibilities for rulership at the moment. The stress that comes with it is ignored. Right now, I just wanted to get my daughter and spend time with her father. Speaking of, I cast a sideways glance at him, a small smirk rising on my face. It was cute how he was reacting to just holding my hand as we walked the streets of Kyoto. The yokai who turned their heads to stare at us, it made my heart flutter just a little bit. But he was barely concealing a blush on those cheeks. I just wanted to gobble him up right here. I reined that part of me in. I was well aware of how flippant I could be with my flirtations. It was a part of my nature. I would openly admit it. I wanted him to accept that I was serious about pursuing something a little more than that, to maybe make it official down the line. He didn't say he hated that part of me, but I could also understand his own reservations. Because of my position, I did not have the luxury of simple ignorance when someone appears and becomes a part of my life. I had a duty to understand this person and what threats they could possibly bring to me and mine. I don't think he would be upset if I revealed that I looked into him, but I still did not bring it up. There were just some things I didn't want to speak about as they seemed personal in nature, and they did paint a certain picture about his own preferences. It's odd, I could never relate this man to the reports I received about a Shimoda Takao. The boy I read reports on, he was introverted, soft-spoken, and if the information was accurate, probably severely depressed. Some digging easily revealed why many of those factors existed. It was obvious who his father was at this point, and I don't think Wilhelm ever tried to hide it. He had no signs of even being a half-devil, and knowing their society, it wasn't strange at all to have him be pushed to the side in some corner of the world and forgotten. It was no wonder when Kunu latched onto him, and he latched right back. At the end of the day, I was happy how everything turned out. He really seems to care for Kunu, and she just brightens up every time he's mentioned. How foolish I've been to not realize how much Kunu wanted a father figure in her life. I've been so careful about her not seeing me with anyone romantically, and then here she comes home with a new father and a man I couldn't help but find myself attracted to. He saved her, a reason I would have dragged him to my bed if he was so inclined, but then goes and helps us further in the battle. For these, I would have been infinity grateful, an ally of his until the end of time, but I couldn't help but consider if maybe we could be something else. I had nothing holding me back from trying. The fact that Kunu already accepted him was the biggest hurdle to dating again, and he undoubtedly checked many of my boxes. He was certainly handsome, that would not be denied. Admittedly, I do like how he didn't just fall into my lap even after jiggling my boobs in his face. Maybe my pride stung just the teeniest bit. Not to mention he's very strong. That's a major turn-on for most yokai, along with a plethora of other species. He's been very kind to both me and Kunu. That smile he gives me is just to die for. He's witty, and has a mischievous streak inside him from what I've found out as well. Really, the only thing that even slightly hung me up was his age. Not to say I didn't enjoy the idea of a younger man showering me with affections, but I honestly never thought of becoming something more with someone barely into 20 years. But here we are, his hand in mine as we walked to pick up our daughter from school, and I felt nothing out of place. I raised up one of my tails and wrapped it around his waist. The surprised look he gave me, the little flutter of embarrassment was just too cute. I couldn't stand it. That's right, I've seen you staring at my tails. Not to mention the glances at my chest and rear, but my tail certainly held your attention. You can't escape the fluffy tail, just accept it. There was a slight shiver that ran down my body as his fingers moved through the fur. How long has it been since I allowed a man to touch my tails intimately like this? You know, I've been curious. He spoke up, snapping me from my own musings. You want to know what shampoo I use? I teased. Well, I would actually. This is incredibly soft. I had to stop myself from just melting to his touch. I wonder if he knew how sensitive our tails were when in this form. I was wondering if it's impolite to touch a kitsune's fox parts. You say as you rub me quite thoroughly. I giggled. Has that ship not sailed already? For future reference. For any other kitsune you seduce. Another odd thought. I had never been part of a harem before, and yet I found myself okay with the idea. I had met both Artoria and Jin, and they had taken with Kunu well. If anything, I believe they would be a very positive influence on my little girl. Any other? Am I the one who seduced you? He raised an eyebrow. Yes, and you should take responsibility. I said without hesitation. You really are a vixen. Compliments will get you everywhere. I wiggled my tail in front of him. But yes, touching our tails and ears is considered something intimate, though not wholly sexual. Honestly, it's like a kiss, which can be a gesture of love in a platonic way, or a deep and sensual experience. And you're letting me touch yours? He seemed surprised. I am. I smiled. I see. He continued to stroke my tail as we walked with his free hand. My ears twitched as I heard him mutter, fluffy under his breath. Was I too forward? He didn't appear to be discomforted by my gesture, even after learning it was something intimate. Nor did he shy away. If anything, I think he was enjoying the moment. I couldn't help but sigh. When had I become such a worrywart? It was quiet between us as Kunu's school came into view, but it was a pleasant silence. POV Wilhelm. Fluffy, fluffy tail. The possessive part of me was really rearing its ugly head. More than once I had the urge of claiming this as mine. This woman, she really does know which buttons of mine to push to get me like this. Where I can't even properly voice things because I get flustered. Wow, this is nice. I admire the large garden outside the apparent school as we approached. I immediately noticed many guards all around the place, not just the ones who were following us, stealthily. Isn't it? Yusaka smiled happily. Kunu was thrilled the first time we came here. She couldn't stop gushing about the garden and wanted to make one of her own back home. How's that going? Oh, you know how children are. Her attention turned somewhere else after a week. Yusaka sighed. Though I still keep up with it, it was something relaxing to do. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Well, if you want to plant some seeds in my garden, I wouldn't say no. She looked rather happy at the innuendo. I feel like she's been holding it in. Did I ever mention I wanted a big garden? Grinned. At least a dozen little flowers. Yusaka let out a small snort. Call me out fine. She put a hand up in defeat. I can barely handle just one little flower. She smiled. Speaking of, I don't want to be late. She picked up the pace, lightly pulling me along. Security here is pretty good. I admired as we passed through several bounded fields, barriers. I counted over 100 guards. Along with these impressive magical defenses, it would be enough to at least stall someone strong until reinforcements come. I lent a hand and upgraded the defenses. Yusaka admitted with a little sadness in her voice. After what happened, we needed to make sure all of our children would be safe going to school like this. Every important clan and their descendants all go here. It was obviously going to need to be well defended after several attempts on Kunu's life. If it would make you feel better, I could add on to these. I offered. You think you can increase their power? She raised an eyebrow. Well, I know a thing or two. I said with a little pride in my voice. You should see the defenses around my house. A thought crossed my mind. If you're ever in a bad situation, you can always head there. It's very well fortified, and I have a few strong people keeping an eye on the place in case anything happens. I'll keep that in mind. She gave my hand a little squeeze, letting go as we entered. Though, her tail was still wrapped around me, as if to tell everyone that I belonged to her. I didn't dislike it. Lady Yusaka. The woman at the front desk greeted her respectfully, casting an odd glance my way. Good afternoon. Yusaka greeted evenly. I would like to pick up my daughter, and also register her father as an acceptable guardian to be able to pick her up whenever he wants. She gestured towards me. Why, yes, right away. She bowed, gathering some papers. I just need a little blood to bind you to the defenses. She held out a little needle and a magical circle drawn on a piece of parchment. I did not like giving people my blood if I didn't know where it was going, but I could let it go in this case. I took the needle and cast a quick reinforcement on it, otherwise it would never pierce my skin. A little drop of blood landed on the parchment, igniting the magical circle and actualizing the spell sequence hidden inside. I felt the defenses around us sort of tap on me, as if to tell me I was now allowed to be here. Almost immediately as it finished, I noticed something rocketing towards me. Daddy! I knelt down, catching my daughter into my arms. My little fox. I laughed, her ears twitching happily and tail swaying behind her as we hugged. Just pretend I'm not here. Yusaka teased. Kay! Kuna gave a cheeky reply. Oh, you little cutie. Yusaka walked over, pulling her daughter's cheeks. I am sorry. Kuna managed to get out. I'll accept a hug as an apology. Yusaka relented with a small smile, opening her arms, and Kunu went to hug her mom. Love you, Mama. Kunu whispered. I love you too. Yusaka kissed her on the forehead. You ready to go home? Kunu nodded happily, turning back to me, eyes practically sparkling, as if waiting for me to acknowledge her. I couldn't help but notice the hair ornament she still had on. Those red leaves that really did go well with her features. How was school? She perked up immediately. It was amazing. She threw her hands up, and it was the most expressive I've ever seen her. I glanced over at Yusaka, who looked so happy to see her daughter like this. We even practiced magic today. Oh, magic you say? Any more buildings that were burned down? Kunu let out a little squawk, face turning red. It was only that one time. She pouted. I laughed, sweeping her up into my arms. Your dad's pretty good at magic. We began walking out, Kunu wiggling around like the hyperactive kitsune she was. Why don't you show me what you learned? I only learned one spell because it's a lot like my foxfire, she said quietly, looking down. Self-esteem issues, or something else. A spell already? That's amazing. Do you have any idea how long it took me to cast my first spell? I spun her around, getting a smile out of her. Years. literally years to cast my first time. A little secret in my past life, I wasn't the most talented when I was younger. I can't cast it if I'm spinning. She whined playfully. All right, my little sorceress, shoot your spell into the air. I'll make sure nothing happens. I winked at Yasaka, who just rolled her eyes with a smile but didn't say otherwise. I set Kunu down as she raised her hand in the air, visibly concentrating. A little spell circle appeared, rudimentary, amateurish, but it looked functional. Fireball! She shouted, and a little ball of fire haphazardly arced off into the air. Was this pride I was feeling? I know I didn't have a hand in this, but that fact that my daughter learned to cast a spell. With a gesture, I dissipated it before it could land and set something on fire. Our daughter is so skilled, isn't she? Yasaka cooed, rubbing her head. Moom! Kunu whined, but didn't move to stop her mom. I'm not a baby. She pouted, but she looked like she was enjoying the affection. A little genius, I praised. It took me years before I could do something similar, and she learned in a single day. I think she deserves a little reward. What do you think? Yasaka looked up at me. Of course, she did amazing. I nodded. Really? Kunu looked excited. Can I choose? If that's what you want, Yasaka let out a small laugh. Choose? I was confused, seemingly something between the two of them. We have a tradition, every second Friday of the month. It was my turn to choose, but since Kunu's been doing so well. Yasaka trailed off, and I realized she wasn't going to say any more. Daddy's going to be with us this time. Kunu left no room for argument, not that I would be opposed. Of course. Yasaka didn't even give it a second thought either. I still had no idea what they were talking about. Why don't we keep it a secret and surprise Daddy? Kunu made a little noise in agreement, grabbing my hand and pulling. Hurry, let's go home. Yasaka flanked her on the other side, taking her empty hand as we went back home. I still have no idea what's going on. I looked around as Yasaka and Kunu had been bouncing around getting stuff ready. They had led me back into their living area that was basically off limits to the other people that resided in this place. Mommy's going to go change real quick. Why don't you pick out anything you want? Yasaka told Kunu. Really anything? Today's a special day, so you can pick anything. Yasaka smiled brightly, stepping away and disappearing into a back room. Kunu quickly went into various cupboards, the nearby fridge, and started taking out various snacks and treats, setting them on the table. Oh, this too. She thought out loud as she kept adding things to the pile. I don't know what's going on, but it was an impressive pile of sweets and snacks all gathered together. Sweetie. Yasaka reappeared and I turned around, a bit surprised at what I saw. Gone was her regal appearance. Now she looked much more comfortable, sporting a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. I said anything, not everything. She deadpanned before letting out a sigh. Just this once. She relented, Kunu's eyes brightening up. Well, she changed rather fast. I am confused. I raised my hand. You haven't guessed it yet? Yasaka grinned, still not telling me what's going on. Mom, we forgot the most important part. Kunu exclaimed, holding up a bag as realization dawned on me. Popcorn, we're watching a movie? Ding, ding. Yasaka lightly cupped my cheek. How about a prize? Mom! Kunu huffed, looking a little red. Don't worry, Mommy will wait until you're looking away. Yasaka laughed. You Kunu blecked, putting the popcorn packet in the microwave. Yasaka snuck one of her tails around my waist again, practically pulling me to her when Kunu was preoccupied. Just tell me when you want to claim your prize, she whispered. I raised an eyebrow at her teasing. Leaning down, I placed a quick kiss on her lips, leaving her a mite surprised. I think she even turned a little red for the briefest moment at my sudden attack. The corners of my lips curled up, and she turned away, not meeting my gaze. I guess she didn't expect me to be so forward, and didn't know how to immediately respond. Though, her tail didn't let up at the slightest, and the ones behind her were noticeably swaying. The microwave dinged. Kunu pulled out a fresh bag of popcorn and emptied into a bowl. I get to pick the movie this time. She ushered us over to the family room, a large television set up. Kunu laid down on the floor, snacks spread all around her. Yasaka found a spot on the couch, and I went to sit next to her. Almost immediately, her tail was back, and I was beginning to enjoy its presence around me. What movie do you want to watch, honey? Jurassic Park. she declared. I perked up. That's one of my favorites. This girl. Yasaka let out a small laugh. She's been obsessed with anything remotely similar to dragons lately. Well, kids do that. Just focus on something so intently for a period of time before they get bored. Dinosaurs are cool. Wait, really? Of course. I was obsessed with them when I was a whelp too. There are actually still some around if you know where to look. I am intrigued, and will look into that later. Yasaka fiddled with the remote until the movie started playing. She scooted a little bit until she was close enough to rest her head on my shoulder, and I moved my arm around her. This was nice.